All right, good morning. It's 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. So if you have not scanned in, please do so. If you have not grabbed a name tag, you can if you want, but you don't have to at this point. So we will take a second to make sure everybody's scanned in. We're going to do something a little bit different this morning that we have been talking about. Everybody got scanned in? All right, so if I can get the panel to join me up here, please. So what we're going to do today, and we've been talking about, we want to bring you all of the different options and programs that are available within this building that are available to you to help make your business successful. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to introduce ourselves, and then Adriana's got some talking points for each of us to go over. The one thing to keep in mind, we want this interactive, we want it very informal throughout the entire hour. If you have a thought, if you have a question, if you have something totally unrelated to whatever we go through and whatever we're talking about, ask it. Don't think that it's not relative. It's all relative. Please ask a question. So we're going to start with John to introduce himself and a couple of minutes about the SBDC.
Good morning. My name is John Doremus. I'm in room 108 downstairs. I have been with the SBDC for almost 8 years now. It's about my fourth career, I guess. I've retired a few times, so. But I love what I do, and I think it's important that we provide service to the community. SBDC is probably the best kept secret, next to the last career that I had, which was Goodwill Industries. We provide a range of services for anyone who wants to register and become a client. It's all without cost, and it's without any obligation on your part, just to show up and do the work. We do international trade, we do government contracting, we do importing and exporting, we do marketing and sales, we do production, we do loans, and I spend a lot of my time in QuickBooks. I'm a certified QuickBooks Pro Advisor. I also do taxes, and I do a lot of financial stuff. I'm a CPA, so that's kind of my role. I'm a numbers guy, but whatever you need, and for however long you need it, we're here to help.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Kelly. I work with Lake Economic Area Development, also known as LEAD. We have an office downstairs. I don't know our room number. I didn't know there was a room number on there. 101? Okay, 101. It's the room that has LEAD on the outside of it. There we go. My background actually is education. I spent 35 years before retiring in the education world. I was principal of several high schools around Marion and Lake County. Ended my career running the technical college in Marion County. I was unsuccessful at retirement. I took 4 weeks off and was convinced to get into the economic development world. And I'm glad I did. Having a great time now in this world. So what does LEAD do? If you bring it down in a nutshell, we are a public-private partnership with Lake County, and our job is to bring high-paying, high-skilled jobs to Lake County. We need to grow what we do here in Lake County. We'll get into a whole lot more of that in the next hour. But we do that through 3 legs of economic development. This being one of business creation, being here in the incubator in Eustis and working with entrepreneurs is getting business going in Lake County and assisting businesses in their start. We also have a business retention leg, which we work with all the existing businesses in Lake County. So we're out there talking to businesses, seeing what their issues are and how we can help connect some dots and help those businesses out. We have to keep businesses happy in Lake County. We have to retain them and help them grow in Lake County, because if we don't do that, we can't do our third leg, which is business attraction, bringing business to Lake County. Nobody will come to Lake County if the businesses that are already here aren't happy being in Lake County. And that's a job that actually takes us worldwide. We go to events and literally all over the world that pair us up with businesses that are looking possibly to come to Florida, looking for land, looking for buildings, and we're trying to match those businesses up to come to Lake County. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we do. We'll get much deeper into that as we go.
Good morning. I'm Brian Biedrich with the UCF Business Incubation Program, and this program's been around for 26 years now. It's kind of got two branches. One of them is more officially associated with the university and the research, the professors and things like that, and that's where we will help companies that can benefit from those kind of connections to get that initial infrastructure in place so that they can grow if they're an early business. Once they've been established, help them scale up. And then there's a third part where we're helping international companies that want to establish offices or operations in the US, helping them come into the country and do that. The second branch of the program is more informal, and it's just more business support as needed, I guess is the right way to say it. So what I mean by that is just talking to all the entrepreneurs throughout the community and figuring out what they might need. If among those connections, if there's a way that we can help, we do that. If there are other people, like the people up on stage and throughout the room that can help, just kind of making those connections. One other part of both of those is kind of a business education element, and I think Lee does this as well, is just offering workshops and other opportunities for the entrepreneurial community to hear from other experts or learn certain tips and tricks that might help them with their businesses. So that's it in a nutshell.
So, in case you don't know, my name is Jim Green. My day job that I've done for the past 41 years, I actually work for a mortgage company called Union Home Mortgage. Been with them for finishing up my 12th year. My wife always gives me a hard time because she's like, nobody knows what you do, and it's like, that's by design, because we're here to give back. But I'm representing 1 Million Cups, and if you're new to 1 Million Cups or you're not sure, this is the program where we help businesses overcome those challenges that sometimes can really do business serious harm, even not sustaining that business because they're unable to overcome those challenges. So I first got introduced to 1 Million Cups three years ago this month. I had coffee with Ray, who is the VP of Lead. He told me about it. I said, it sounds great. I'm all about giving back. I think it sounds like a great program. And the 3 years since then, it is by far the best single business-to-business support program I've ever been associated with. It's amazing to watch people come out every week. So, but if you have a business, and it can be from a concept to a startup to a newer business, you're going to have challenges in your business. This is where we want you in this room. So technically, you can present up to 12 times in the first 5 years, from startup, 2 times your first year, getting to that first year, and then 2 times every year, years 1 through 5, and hopefully between the feedback you get from here and the professionals we put in the room every week, you're going to get help overcoming those challenges. You've got a panel of professionals here that are going to help you expand your business. This is where you come to between what we do at 1 Million Cups and the rest of our panel and everything in the building that is going to lead to long-term business success, and that's what we're all about. So, again, does anybody have any thoughts, questions that they want to bring to the panel before we get started? If not, we'll have Adriana start with our talking points. Again, never a bad time to ask a question. If you have anything, please ask. And I think we're going to start with John first.
All right, good morning, everyone. First question is John for SBDC. How do I monitor my gross margin?
Gross margins. How many can tell me what a gross margin is? Raise your hand. How many of you are in business today? So you have a financial statement, and you look at it every once in a while, right? Hopefully every month. So does anybody give me a definition before I start on my discussion about what is a gross margin? Any ideas? It's probably the most important thing you as a business owner should know. Because if you don't know it, you may not be getting it. It's and you might be ending up bankrupt in a few months. Over in the corner, yes, sir.
Gross income before deductions?
Gross income before what kind of deductions? How much time do I have, Jim? Sorry. Two kinds of expenses in your business, okay? There's business expenses related to overhead, okay? Those are the kinds of things that you have whether you're selling stuff or not, okay? The other side of the coin are cost of sales, cost of goods sold. If you are in a product industry, you're selling something. So you have to put out money to build that thing, whatever it is, and get it to your customer, okay? So gross margin is, in a generic sense, the cost, the sales price that you sell to the customer, less the costs that you incurred to get that product made and delivered to the customer's site, okay? It's called cost of sales, cost of goods sold, depending on the industry that you're in. So, theoretically, if you have zero sales, how many dollars of cost of goods sold do you have? Zero. Very good. That's a good starting point for you. Look at your expenses. 90% of the people that I see leave the labor, guess where? Down in the overhead. That's the biggest single item that you will spend on producing your service or your product in the entire financial statement. So, but you put it down below. So you look at your gross margin.
I have a question from the panel.
Yes, ma'am, sir.
Is there a minimum or an average or standard of what the gross margin should be for businesses?
A generic formula for everybody, and again, if you take a look at Sears, you take a look at the retail people, they run a lot lower, but they have large volumes. As a general rule, you want to sell it for $1. They want it to cost you 50 cents to make. And that includes getting it to the customer. That's, freight, all that stuff. And then you have 50 cents left for you to cover overhead, which would be about 25 cents. And then 25 cents goes into your pocket before you pay your tax on it. That's a general rule. And I will tell you, there are industries that do a lot better than that. There are most industries that do a lot less than that. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
What if it's a service-related industry?
It doesn't matter what the industry is. You want to strive in your business to be in those parameters. Okay? Now, small businesses like all of you are, for the most part, people take draws, they take salary. That's all really part of your compensation that's in that 25 cents at the bottom. But when you get to the bottom line and you go to the tax return, it looks a lot different. But in terms of monitoring your gross margin, it should be done every day. You should know with certainty how much it's costing you to make what you're selling. You should know intuitively. Now, I do have here, and I'm going to leave this over on the table, I do have some documents that you can take with you that will help you do that. And if you want the electronic version, just leave me your email and I'll send it to you. It shows you how to get to. I've had many people come into my office, and when we finish doing this, they leave the door and decide to find another business because they're not going to make any money at this one. And I save a lot of money that way by doing that. So, but it should be done. If you have a financial statement that's accurate, okay, you're going to know what your gross margin. And this is the thing that drives me crazy. Somebody looks at their income statement and they say, I'm making $50,000 or $20,000 or $30,000. Their gross margin is grossly inaccurate. They don't really know what they're making. And then I have people who come to my office and they say, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this and this. I'm going to sell all these products and this is how much I'm going to make. So which one is the most profitable for you? I don't know. Why don't you start with that one? If you got a product you're going to make 60%, why not start with that one rather than the one that takes 2.5 hours to make it and make 10%? So
Kelly, I got to follow up on her question because I think, I look at it.
And you may be thinking this, if you're in a service product, you don't really have a cost of goods.
yes, you do. It's your time. You got it. The most costly thing you're ever going to do is your time. So when you do this little worksheet and you get to the bottom and you take the gross margin divided by the time it took you to do it, that's your hourly wage for your business. You know, if it takes me 3 hours and I have $22, I've told people it's better to go to McDonald's to get benefits. If your hourly wage is $14, $12, $11 an hour.
So how did you come up with that hourly wage of, for example, $14 from the time? So are you placing that value on yourself, basically, like 1 hour of my time is worth this value dollar?
What you'll do is you place the value of your time equal to what it would cost you to go figure it out in the open market. Okay? So, no, you don't want to put yours at $55 or something. So, yes.
Yeah, because it's like, with your service, lost my train of thought.
What a microphone does.
It's coming back, it's coming back, it's coming back. So with your service, yeah, you know, you have something that you're gonna charge somebody money for, and then you're gonna ask yourself, how long does it take me to provide that service? And what's the background? Like, what kind of time did it take me to acquire that customer? And then what kind of time did I need to prepare for that encounter, that service? And then that's the whole allotment of your time. So that needs to be divided by your price of your product.
When you start a business, you are the employee. You know, you're the labor force. So whatever time you spend is really, your hourly rate is irrelevant, because if you had a business and you were selling stuff, you would hire somebody. And I tell people all the time, never do something yourself that you can hire somebody to do and make more money doing what you do best than doing that.
Awesome, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Next question is gonna be for Lee. All right, Mike, how does tax justification help Lake County?
So it's a much easier problem than margins. Yeah, tax diversification, much simpler. All right, so yeah, let me start with talking to my wife last night. And I said, did you ever think in all my career of being in education and dealing with teachers and students and the athletic program, did you ever see me getting in front of a group of people and talking about tax diversification? She laughed at me and said, no, that's not you. Well, it is now. You know, started thinking, okay, if I educate a student and we only taught math at my school, is that a good thing for that student's future? No. He might be a real good math student, might be, you know, great in one industry, but, you know, not well-rounded, doesn't work out too well for the student. So, bringing that to my world now, what does tax diversification mean? In Lake County, what do we have the most of? Rooftops, right? A lot of houses. We got tons of houses here. And we're building houses like crazy. A lot of people want to move to Lake County. It's a little more affordable than surrounding counties around us. A lot of Orlando is moving to Lake County. So we have tons of rooftops. We make a lot of money off that. We have impact fees. We have taxes that go on those houses. So we're generating lots of income on those houses to build the infrastructure that we need right now, right? The problem is we're building that infrastructure with growth. The only thing that is keeping that infrastructure going is the growth of Lake County. One day, I'm probably not going to be here, and we're going to stop growing in Lake County. And when we stop growing in Lake County, the infrastructure is going to be 25 years old, 50 years old, and more. We don't have growth, we don't have impact fees, we don't have new tax bases coming in. How do we pay for that in the future? All right? And the answer to that has got to be, we have to diversify our tax base so that we have industry, we have industrial jobs here, we have commercial businesses here that are high-paying, high-skilled jobs to help us pay for what we need in the future. All right? That's probably the easiest I can explain it to you. You know, why does LEAD exist? We exist to try to bring these industries to Lake County, right? And it's for our future. We as a taxpayer, we as, you know, owners of homes and land in Lake County, I don't want to pay for every single bit of Lake County in the future. I don't, you know, when roads go bad, I don't want it to all fall on us, the homeowners. Right? So by diversifying our tax base, by bringing in business to Lake County, you know, that's going to help us with that tax base. Right? Now, our job then becomes, how do we do that? How do we bring the businesses in, and how do we have a plan on where to put things? And anybody's ever heard me speak before, I speak all the time about, I'm Lake County, not born and raised, but raised in Lake County most of my life. I love Lake County. I love the hunting. I love the fishing. I love the outdoors. I love all that we have in Lake County. So when we talk about this growth and when we talk about bringing business to Lake County, how do we do it and preserve all of those things so that we have that tax base? That becomes really what my job is in this. And we can get into a lot more of that later.
I do have a little perspective. We spent about an hour with Megan Brew yesterday talking about the economics in Lake County. 70% of the workers in Lake County leave to go to work every morning, which is interesting. And the other two interesting demographics, the residential person consumes $1.40 of every dollar that the government collects from taxes. A business, 40 cents. So to have a balance in terms of that tax base, you have to have about, I think about, say 80%, 80-20. So it is an interesting demographic.
Yeah, all you got to do, look at the Amazon distribution center in Christopher C. Ford Park. It's not the biggest Amazon by any means. It's a moderate-sized Amazon warehouse there. That equates to about 200 homes there. So you bring one business in like that, and that's like bringing 200 homes to us. And John, you hit on all the right points. The reason we have 70% people leaving our county are kind of widespread. Some of it is we have a high skilled workforce. We have a workforce that's fairly educated in Lake County. We have a good schooling system. We have A-rated school district. We have a great state college here. We have a fantastic technical college here. So we have the education part of workforce down. The jobs don't exist here. That's one of our problems. The jobs aren't here, so we are losing those people to other counties. I did some research the other day. Somebody had asked me, so what jobs are they going to? That's a little harder question. It took a lot more digging into it. And some of it is expected. Disney, Epic, Universal, all of those things. The hospitality industry takes about 5% of our people who leave go to hospitality industry. 5% goes to a food and service industry, hotels, accommodations. But there's a 5% that go to scientific jobs that are outside of our county. So those are the high-skilled, high-paying jobs that we want to try to get into Lake County so that they stay put. Now, the other side of that coin of why people are leaving is a lot of it is that people are living in Orange County, right, and looking at Lake County and go, hey, homes are a little cheaper and that's only 15, 20 minutes away, so let's move into Lake County and continue working in Orange County. Yes, ma'am.
Have you looked at how remote jobs have affected Lake County?
I've tried to, but that is very hard to track down of what is a remote job. There's no data that I have found right now out there in all these databases that really tackle the remote worker, because they're still classifying them into the industry that they're associated with, not that they're working from home. So I really don't know. I wish if somebody could help me out with how to find that answer, that would be great. But I just don't know. Yes, ma'am.
So how does, I know we want to bring more businesses into the county, I know we want to bring more businesses into the county, and obviously high value businesses. How does LEAD do that? Is that through funding, business development as far as, buildings? Because you have a lot of small businesses that start here in Lake County, but they don't last here in Lake County.
There's two ways for us to bring those businesses to Lake County. Well, really three ways. We want to grow Lake County. We want to grow the businesses that are here into those jobs. And part of this whole culture that we're trying to create is to lift Lake County's business community up to be able to do that. The other two ways we go out recruiting. We go, like I said, we have a one person dedicated to going out to trade shows where these Select Florida is a government group that's part of the Department of Commerce that will set up in January. I'm going to go to. Sorry, I have to do this. I got to go to Vegas to the Consumer Electronics Show, and we will have a booth there set up from the state of Florida, where businesses from around the world that are in the the consumer electronic industry can come by and talk to us if they're looking to have a footprint in Florida. So we'll generate some leads that way. So we go to events like that and work that angle. We also work when a business wants to relocate or they want to start a business in Florida. They may go through the Department of Commerce and they'll have an RFI for information about their business. So that funnels to us, and we work on an RFI to say, here's what Lake County can offer you. Here's some sites, here's some incentives maybe, here are the things that we can do to get you to come to Lake County. All right, so we also do it that way. So that's really the second way. The last way is we have to develop site-ready land that is available for them. All right, and that is our biggest hurdle right now. All right, and you take areas, Christopher Ford Park, big industrial park right off the turnpike there. Being built in Mineola right now is an industrial park right on the turnpike. And you can see where Crooked Can is going up right there, and there's land right there. Wolf Branch Innovation District is being developed. Wellness Way has a industrial park section of it. So we take these strategic corridors and we market those and say, here's what we have land. When a business wants to come somewhere, when they want to go, they go through all their due diligence to find out where they want to go. And once they decide that, they want to stick a shovel in the ground and go. They don't have time. Time is money. Every moment that they don't start building, they're losing money. So if Lake County, we have lots of land, right? We don't have site-ready land. So a business says, yeah, I want to come to Lake County. What do you got for me for 500,000 square foot building? They're like, we don't have anything for that. So we lose them right away. So part of it is to develop that site-ready land. Yeah, yes, sir.
Two-part question.
Okay.
First, how is the governor's effort to do away with property taxes on homes going to affect the infrastructure? And second, what's being done actively? I keep hearing in the news how they're trying to go out to the whole world and bring business back to the U.S. What's being done to initiate that so it comes here?
So, two questions. I have no idea how the governor is going to pay for everything with no property taxes. That is a question everyone has asked the governor, and everyone is asking how that's going to be done. And I actually saw him last week and listened to him. All he can say is we have so much money in reserves, we are so wealthy, and people keep moving here, and that wealth continues to build. That's the only plan that we hear from him, is that we have all this excess money in our coffers. So, yeah. So the other side of this, I also heard a consultant last week, a lobbyist, that gave us all the rundown of what's coming in legislation in this next year. Their view on it is there's no way that it's going to pass. Even, right now it's not passing in legislation, and they're wanting to put it on the ballot, so that the voters will vote on it, which 60% of us have to say, yes, we want no property taxes. The polling is showing that that's falling short of doing that. But I don't have a good answer of how. I mean, we've all asked the same thing to our legislators here, saying, so how are we going to do it? I'm an educator. How are you going to pay for schools? If we don't have property taxes. I don't understand how this is going to work. And there is no plan that's being put out there. I think what is going to happen, from what I'm hearing, is the governor is going to negotiate things like raising your homestead exemption to a higher amount, so that we're paying fewer taxes, a lower amount of taxes, and he kind of gets a win out of doing it that way. That's kind of what we're hearing. How are we bringing business from around the world to? You know, there's a couple ways. I just explained, you know, a couple of them of us just being out there doing it. But we also have things like, I mentioned Select Florida. Select Florida has delegations that go all over the world. And we have junkets that, you know, one Eustace is familiar with is the one to Japan here recently that one of your commissioners went on along that trip. To go to these countries in Select Florida, will have, you know, people set up in business for us to meet with and do business. We also host those. I hosted a group from Singapore not too long ago to bring them here and show them availability. So it's a two-way street of us going to individual places who may be looking to come here. You know, the big part is then selling what we have, whether it's ready land for them, whether we have the industry. It's all about the right fit too. It just can't be any businesses. What does Lake County want and need here? What is our workforce? You know, so we can't just really go to Japan and go, whatever business is wanting to come to Lake County, come to Lake County. We may not be able to match that up with the right workforce, or, you know, so it's very targeted and strategic of how we do that. Hope that kind of answered or followed.
Yes, and I'll tell you, if you remember the ratio, okay, that I talked about a minute ago, $1.40 versus 40 cents for every property tax you eliminate, you gotta have 3 businesses come in to make up the shortfall.
We're gonna go one more and then we'll go to Brian's question.
Cool. This is kind of an add-on to both the questions that came before. My mom, she teaches as a professor at Sumter State College. She teaches mechatronics, which is rigging up those robots in factories and stuff, right? Big issue that the college has had is people haven't signed up to become professionals in the manufacturing industry, and obviously the market isn't supplying those jobs, right? So my question is, how do you weigh the buy versus make decision of would you rather bring those businesses here or upskill already existing labor into jobs where the world is moving towards technology, right?
So being an educator, my answer to that is I want to upskill the people that we have. I want to teach the kids that are in high school the job availability that we have. And that's a huge problem, and that's something that I work with our K-12 system here. Kids don't know what jobs are available. Adults don't know what jobs are available. Our guidance counselors don't know what jobs are available. Principals don't know what job. I spent 35 years in a building teaching kids, but not out on the streets finding out what's out there. Right? I get this job and I start going around and looking at the manufacturing that goes on in Lake County. It's like, holy cow, I did not know this stuff goes on here. You know, the jobs that exist are amazing. Right? So why don't we know that? Right? And I'm going to be critical of the school. I'll get you in there. I'm going to be critical of the school system because I spent most of my years being critical of my school system. Our guidance counselors are turned into test preppers for the state testing. They have to make sure all that crap happens. Right? Our guidance counselors have to deal with mental health issues now that are a lot more than in the past. They are not career counselors. They don't do anything of guiding kids on careers, right? And that's the fault of the school system. I fight, in the last couple of schools I ran, I funded myself a career counselor to talk with our kids, and we put in things in place to make kids try to decide what they wanted to do with their life that was outside the guidance counselor range. The other thing that I'm critical about in our school systems and our state system is the state testing that we do manipulates all the time of school. We teach to the test, all right? And that's not a bad thing. If the test is right, if the test measures what you want to measure, that's okay. But we don't test what we want to measure, right? We don't teach core values that we were talking about earlier. We don't teach, finding the right careers in all those things. We teach the skills of math, English, science, social studies, and we measure that, and we forget how to develop a kid. And I'm getting deep into education now. All right? Yeah. But if we don't do that, our kids end up not being prepared. I talked about tax diversification, right? Started saying if we only teach our kids math, we're not getting a well-rounded student. We're not getting a well-rounded student now because we're not bringing in that side of things. The things that we don't test in a state test are the things that are important to make sure our kids know about the job industries. Now, real quickly, we started putting on a career fair in Lake County 3 years ago. I started when I got into this. Right now in December, I think it's December 10th or 11th. 11th. There you go. Thank you. We have a career expo. We have 100 businesses, and we had to max out at 100 because that's all we got room for. Down in Clearmont at the Fine Arts building down there. 100 businesses. We ship in 100 students, junior and senior students from each high school to come do nothing but walk up and down the aisles and talk to 100 businesses that exist in Lake County so they can see the variety of things. It's not a job fair. They're not trying to get a job. They're just getting exposed to hear the things in Lake County that you can do. Did you know we had a naval engineering company here that builds and designs ships? No, nobody knew that. We got that though. Yeah, it's here. So question.
Can I add one thing on
Yep.
that, sir?
So one other thing that's kind of an opportunity also to combine both of those, the make versus buy, and what I mean by that is particularly Lake Tech, and I think Lake Sumter a little bit as well, are willing to custom design curriculum if a company can commit to making so many hires on a regular basis. So an example of that, say Steamroller out of Mondora, might be with the mechatronics kind of thing, right? They're looking for people that, not necessarily with a 4-year degree, but they just have some fundamentals and they have the right mindset. There's a good chance that they have to hire 5-6 of those every year. They can get, maybe it's a 6-month, 9-month kind of certification program that gives another pathway to, getting a job quickly to help the companies grow and help the community grow.
Question.
Do you have people that do certain jobs go in and talk in detail? Because you can have a career fair and all that, but if they don't know the detail of the job, they don't know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go and talk at schools, and they were amazed at how I took math, what they're doing now, and took Deepwater Horizon down because people didn't know how to add. Now, that's what you need to do. My parents are both teachers, and my dad's a football coach, he was a driver's ed teacher, that's how teachers make money.
That's what they did.
Exactly. But what you need to do is you need to talk to them and show them the detail. You're exactly right. They don't know. Hell, adults don't know what a job means. You look at the job title, so how are they going to?
Yeah.
You need to bring it together on what they're learning, like what you're saying. You have history. Does any kid know how history falls into the job they have?
Right.
There are jobs that
Right.
history is very important for. You need to make the tie. And you also need to teach them on money.
Yep.
And I don't mean balancing your checkbook.
No,
Because
it was-
I purposely pushed my way into my child's school, and he goes to private school because of exactly what you're saying. They teach the test. So that whole first quarter of the year, you learn nothing. They are reviewing from last year. So now they're losing a quarter every year. How many days is that they're losing? And our competition in Japan, they're not doing that. And they go all year long. And I'm not saying you should go all year long. That's
we can do another whole seminar on
Yes.
education.
That
I can
I
talk
know
to,
because my parents were teachers.
I can talk
That was
years
my
off
family.
on that.
I'm sure that we all know that we're spending the most for getting the least in the United
Yeah.
States today.
So there's a lot of barriers that we have to get over to getting into classrooms to do what you want to do. And I think you are right that we have to do that. But we got to get creative in how to do it. And I'm going to blame testing one more time. Because of testing, I can't take a student out of the classroom and take them on a field trip to get real life look at something because I'm missing 5 other subjects that day and I'm hurting them by bringing them out of the classroom. We've got to learn how to get into the classroom to do that. And that's a struggle in itself with all the rules and regulations that are now about coming on the school campus and background checks and all those things. But there's this wonderful thing called Teams and Zoom and all those things that we've really got to take advantage of, where I can be on the screen in front of a classroom and talk to students. And that's the easiest way to get that done. Not as good as being in front of the students, but there are so many hurdles. Yeah, that's the best way around the table. We've got to move on. I know. I'm going to take all of this time.
So the question I have is, as businesses, we're always looking for more customers, as well as being prepared to handle more customers. What resources are on the panel here that can provide market research to help me find more customers for my business? And then once I have more customers, help me find resources to deliver services or products to that customer?
Well, I can tell you that
Just about any aspect of your business that you need help. There's 26 consultants in Central Florida at SBDC.
I mean, let's get specific. What kind of market research can you provide me? I hear that, I've heard a lot of conversations about taxes and education, but I came here this morning to get resources. So give me a specific resource. Do you have a database of market research I can come visit?
Yes.
You can say, Randy, I want to,
If you're an SBDC client, you have access to probably 15 or 20 resources for market information on your specific NICS code in your specific industry.
How do I get it?
Pardon me?
How do I get it?
You got to sign up for SBDC and become a client.
How do I sign up for SBDC?
I'll give you my card.
That's kind of what I'm getting at is, and then for like developing businesses, you're trying to bring business in, how can I prepare to my business to receive those businesses you're trying to attract, or create a business that will enable those businesses to come to this area?
So education of businesses, and we try to put groups together here. I do several different councils where I can bring your business in and bring, we just bring to the table, here's what we're looking at bringing to Lake County. I bring healthcare industry in, and we meet quarterly with the healthcare industry CEOs and things, and we try bringing to them, here's what's on the horizon out here, here's what's coming, here's what we need to prepare for. We bring the education in so that we have workforce for it. So a lot of it is just information sharing of bringing groups in together. As far as resources of databases and type things, I have my own resources like CareerSource Florida has access to lots of databases where I'll call them and get information from. I met this wonderful guy who works in AI this morning that I'm going to start calling. That's going to try to teach me how to do some things in that also. But yes, anything else on resources that you see?
Yeah, sure. So there are a lot of resources available. I think to your question of how do you access it, one thing I would say is be as specific as possible. So if you come to any of us and you say, I want market research, that's harder because it's very broad, right? And the answers you're going to get are go to some mega database thing, and it's not going to, may not be what you're looking for, right? If you can come to us and say, I would like to know how many people live in these areas or work in this industry, or get something that we can take and run with, that helps a lot. That could be either, yes, I have that thing and here it is, or I know somebody who probably does have that thing. So I think, and you guys can chime in, but often people come to us with super broad things. I want market research, I want money. And that's hard. So if you can have thought it through and come in with some kind of specific tasks, that gives some marching orders that people can work on.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to move on, and then if you have any questions, you can follow up with them afterwards. Next question is for you, Brian. How can small business owners build stronger relationships with support organizations so they receive more effective assistance?
So that kind of, there was a lead into it, right? But yeah, that was part of it. And so I'll back up a little bit from that. I think one of the best ways is to be open and transparent and come in with, so people up here really want to help. That's one thing that we keep saying, but I experience a lot of people come to us still a little defensive or a little bit guarded. And it just, again, it makes the conversations a little bit more difficult. If somebody's kind of not being open about the issues that they're facing and they're kind of hedging around it, it sends us off on a different path, and we're, in our attempts to help, we're helping the thing that's maybe not the real issue there. So what I would say, the things that I find the most effective is if people come and we have a candid conversation. What's going on? Where am I struggling? What do I need to get? What I not know anything about? Whatever it is. That does two things. It gives some guidance, right? Where we can either, I can help directly, or I can route you properly and more effectively to the right thing, right person to help with the actual thing. The other part of it is that it helps us advocate for you. If you come in and clearly communicate what's going on, we can tell potential customers, we can tell potential support organizations that you should be on the lookout. So I think that's part of preparing to go into it. The other part that I always say is once you have met, it's showing follow-up on the conversations. So John will tell you, I don't know, a very large percentage of people come into you, you ask them to do a couple of things, and then they never do it. And you never see them again, or they come back to you 3 months in a row, still not having done those things. That's hard for us too, right? It's if we suggest that there's something that you could do that could move the business forward, if that's not getting done, that lessens our desire to help you, right? On the other flip side of that, if we see you doing that, if you take a little bit of advice and you take it and run with it, and you come back and say, I did this, and then I also did that, this and that on top of it, that's going to supercharge all of us. Like, okay, this person is serious, this person wants help, they want to grow. That's great for us. That's exactly who we're looking for, and who we makes it more effective. When you have that kind of synergy going, then it just makes everything work a lot more smoothly.
So I think to his point, we hear a lot about, how we're going to Japan, or we're going here to, bring businesses to Lake County, but I think what most of us who are locally here in Lake County is wanting to know is, where are the resources here for Lake County people? What are the resources here for smaller businesses? What are the resources that are available? But for someone who don't have a business mind, they know their skill, they know their craft, and they're very good at it, but they don't know how to run a business. So they can't come to you with a specific question because they don't even know where to start. So where do we get that guidance? Where do we get those resources that says, hey, you're in this industry, these are some things that you can look for, these are some websites that may be helpful to get you to, what your customers are wanting, what are the questions your customers may be asking, how do you get that research from, where, you know what I mean? So, for me, for example, I know how to do my service, but I'm learning the business aspect of it as well. So that's something that everyone may not know.
You want to answer?
Go ahead.
Say, we'll all answer.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, counted to Brian's point, being specific of what you're asking for. If it's a workforce question, I'm gonna get you with career source, or I'm gonna pair you up with a school at whatever level that is coming out. I'm gonna pair you with somebody. I'm gonna connect you with somebody that can get you workforce. If it's a business question, I may say, John's a good guy to talk to, or I might have some others that sometimes it's a business that's like yours that I know and go, you know what, the best thing is to talk to this business. When I was principal, certainly didn't know everything, especially in my younger days, and every time I had an issue that I'd never dealt with before, I had 7 or 8 other high school principals in the county that I'd pick up the phone and go, hey, how'd you do this? And I'd do the same thing with pairing you up with a business then. But, it could be UCF has a resource that I go to, or, this group right here is a lot of our resources sometimes when they go, oh yeah, I met this person last week and I can pair you up and here's a guy over here that does AI stuff and you need to talk to him about. So a lot of it is just that's the networking piece is important, so you make those connections, and I guess we are the ultimate networkers up here, that we're out in more locations and probably know more people.
In terms of the labor market, what workforce are you mainly looking for? Is it more blue collar, white collar? What are you targeting? What is Lake County?
So,
labor?
real quick before we jump into that, I wanted to follow up on that last question, because I think one of the things, I got to get a 1MC plug in here. I think one of the most common things that we see with our presenters, they don't know who their customer is. I get presentations that I review and it's like, I need referrals. Well, to who? We have so many presenters where we have to say, one, you have to narrow down who is your customer. And the other thing we have to do, I think we have to learn as business people, one of the best things you can do is fire a customer. And that scares us to death, because if I fire a customer, I'm losing that income. But if you're spending 70% of your time on a customer that gives you very little business. I took a class years ago, and it had a priority square, and you have low headache, high volume producers, high headache, low volume producers, high headache, high volume producers, low headache, low volume producers. Get rid of the high headache, low volume producers, because they're occupying all your time. But the point is, you've got to figure out who is your customer. And then you come to the resources and say, this is my customer. Narrow it down. Who is not your customer? And I think that's one of the important things. We're so just income generated. We just want to throw it, and whatever sticks, we put that check in the bank and think that it makes sense. But you're spending 70% of your time on income that's generating 30% of your income. So now, back to your question.
So when I look at, go back to the inflow and outflow of Lake County, we have more people leaving Lake County for high-paying jobs, right? And we actually have 70% leaves, but we have another 40% that comes into Lake County from other counties to work. Those people are coming in for low-paying jobs, right? So what we're looking for is to retain those high-paying jobs, so meaning high-skilled, more of the upper income to keep those people in Lake County. Now, do we know that we have to have some workforce that is minimum wage? Absolutely. And we do have to bring business in that needs those too. But to answer your question, I'm looking for the higher skilled jobs so that our people will stay in the county that are leaving.
One interesting point I wanted to follow up on.
It was about a year ago at a presentation Mike did in Leesburg, maybe a year and a half ago, that it was either you or Ray said that 75% of our tax base comes from residential, only 25% comes from commercial, if I remember the numbers right, or somewhere in there. And like Mike said, that's got to flip. If we're built out and only 25% of our tax base is coming from commercial and industrial, we're gonna have a huge shortfall.
Yeah. I want to finish up one thing. You mentioned that you're very good at the craft of your business, right? But not so much on the business side of it. You said it better than I just did. One thing I want to make clear is when you come to these resources, I kind of went down one path based on specific requests, like market research. That's one thing. I want to get some very specific information or help. But on the other hand, if you don't know what questions to ask, that's still okay. it's all right to come and just have the conversations. And this is where I was trying to go at this one point, is just come and talk to us about, this is what my challenges are, this is what my business, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at. Just as a sounding board, that's where anyone here can say you ought to go talk to somebody in that same industry, or I know somebody who is in that same boat and that would be a good one for you to talk to. Or it may just be a little bit of helping you figure out what those questions might be or what direction you want to go in, or again, we all want to help. So that's the main thing I would say, is just start talking to us. Even if you come in and say, I really don't know what I need, start the conversation and then continue to follow up on it.
You know, it doesn't matter where you go. Chamber of Commerce, go to your local bank, go to the website. Wherever you go, I start every meeting with the same 4 questions. Who you are, what have you done, where are you going, what do you need? Okay, that's it. And if you and the best people are the ones that say, I have this crazy idea. That's great. Let's start from the beginning. I don't have to clean up messes. I don't have to fix financial statements. We just start from the beginning. And if you look at your business, it's a 3-legged stool. You know, finance and administration, marketing, advertising, production, delivery.
You guys may have been saying this all along, but I have a hard time understanding things sometimes. If I'm sitting at home, and like you said earlier, time is the most valuable thing to us. If I'm sitting at home and I come across an issue or a challenge I'm having in my business, and I'm putting you guys in different buckets to say, which one of you should I call for the challenge that I'm having? How do I differentiate between each of you? Or am I just coming in to have a meeting with all 3 of you at the same exact time? Like, how does it all work?
Call anyone. We'll get you the right place.
But I can only start with you if I've already registered as a client with you.
Right.
So, like, do I just come and become a client of all 3 of you at the same time, and then, or should I just take a week and come and sit with each of you for a day? Or
you don't have to be a client of Jim's.
None of us.
Right. You have to be a client of mine, because I have
Also, that takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's put your email on a form, basically.
He said it's free, right?
Yeah.
And I think the
And if you
important
never see
part
me again, doesn't cost you a dime.
is they are so integrated with what each of them does, they will know within a matter of one conversation, well, you need to talk to Mike, or you need to talk, they will direct you in the right place.
So let you guys figure out.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so this may not be my wrap-up sentence here, but I'm going to tell you the best thing about Lake County. We all work together amazingly well. The school systems work together with us. The different businesses is up here, we work amazing together. The chambers, that doesn't happen everywhere. Doesn't happen in other counties. I spent most of my career in Marion County. That does not happen in Marion County. Right? So our strength is the cohesiveness that we have together. So I don't think it matters where you start, really. I think you make a call and we go from there. And it might just be, hey, you need to talk to Jeff.
Just make the call.
And make the call.
Right.
This is a comment. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna date myself. I'm 53 years old, and
Snuggle.
You are young.
I was entrepreneur when I was in my 20s, right after college, early 20s, and I gotta tell you, we didn't have internet the way we have internet now. We don't have the advent of AI right now. This is unbelievable. Folks, I gotta tell you, we have to show up and take responsibility to go out and seek the resources and everything. We can't, what we're doing is when we have these excuses is, what are the resources? How can we find them? It's, the way you do it is go out there and search yourself, because there are plenty of resources. And just with this AI now, you can put in your, whatever you are, for example, and put in what that, and look at your competition, things like that. What are they doing from an advertising standpoint? You can do a lot of due diligence in everything nowadays, and especially for the finances. There's so many, like Investopedia will give you every type of equation and little videos on gross margin, everything. It's net income sheets, all that stuff. It's amazing. Just taking a little bit of time and utilizing those resources.
All right, I want to go to the last question. One, because I want more of my time. I'm not going to stay this But no, because I think it ties into this conversation very well.
Okay, we'll finish up with Jim and then you can do the closing statements. This is a great program to attend every week, but how do we know it's working?
So the two areas, when I put this question together, number one is I talk to so many people that tell me, and I kid with them, it's like, hey, when are you going to present? It's like, I don't need to. I've gotten all my questions answered sitting here every week, listening to the presenters and the feedback that they get. Number two is a high percentage of our presenters, they don't come back because the suggestions that they've gotten, that they've implemented into their business has made them and got them so busy, they don't have time to come back. It's working. You've got to be here to make sure it works. Here's where I think, leading back to those questions, where I think we fall short, or the resources are there. One of my biggest pet peeves in life is when people think, oh, I'm so busy. No, you're not. Nobody's that busy. I'm sorry. People talk about they have schedules that rival the president's. No, I'm sorry, you're not that busy. If you are, then you're managing your calendar wrong. But if you are that busy and you're that needle in the hay, you've got resources to say, how do I take I'm that busy to the next level? And I think this is where we're missing it. We go from point A to point B. You've got some of the best resources in the county to go from B to C to D to E. You've got to start taking some of that off your plate. They're going to tell you how to do it. They're going to show you how to stop being the be-all, end-all for your business, bring people in to run your business. And I think the other side of it too, really nothing to do with that question, I think to a point that there's a lot of really, really smart business people, there's a lot of bad business managers. Take a business idea that is a great business idea, work with them, work with thoughts on how to find somebody to bring into that as a business partner. Again, take it to the next level. The resources are there, we just have to take advantage of it. And this is why, and we don't get to the second question, that's fine, because we'll do this again, sometime next year.
My second question. It's such a good, it's not, remember my pet?
All right, can you read John's second question?
No.
Just no for John.
It's actually very important. What John has to say, this is very important.
Oh, you've seen the questions?
No. The thing is anything that John says. No. The reason I say this is that I see this all the time. Small businesses, in businesses to make a profit. If you don't know the fundamentals of business, don't even start it. This is where I know John really well. If it's a pet peeve.
Go ahead, Adriana.
Okay. Why is accrual-based accounting so important?
Anybody know what that means?
Anybody know what that means? Accrual-based accounting. Accrual-based accounting. If I took the room and divided it into two pieces, these 4 people do it, the rest of these people don't. Why? Nobody knows. Can anybody give me a definition of accrual-based accounting? That's But if you wait until you file your tax return to figure out what that is, you're in deep trouble. Accrual-based accounting is very simply matching the effort that I generated with the sales that I reported and the costs that I incurred to make those sales. Okay, simple. We live in a tax-based world. You can go out on December 31st at 11:59 and buy a $150,000 truck and write it off for the year.
Long as it's over 6,000 gross.
And he would know those details. But guess what? Misstates your financial statements by $58,000. My job is simple. The financial statement should show accrual-based accounting, which shows this is how much time I spent, and this is how much money I spent to make this sale, and that's the only accurate basis. And nobody does it. Nobody does it.
Okay, I'm going to wrap my part up.
All right, good.
How do we know that we're successful? We got to move the needle. I want less than 70% of Lake County leaving. I got to see that needle start moving. More people staying in Lake County. I want to see our average wage in Lake County go up. All right, those are the two needles that I need to move.
Yeah, so I'm going to just wrap up with a repeat of this plea to start the conversations with the business support organizations. Anybody that's here, I think you've just hit on it, right? A lot of people are wondering, I don't know where to start. Just start. Doesn't really matter where. And it doesn't have to be a big investment. I think I've met with several people in the room. We're talking 20, 30 minutes to just get an understanding of what's going on. So that's a wrap up there is don't be intimidated, just start talking and you got a whole room and county full of people that really do want to help you.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
So I'll go ahead and wrap this up with a couple of thoughts. You know, everybody that comes up here and presents, we always talk about it. It's an uncomfortable time to do that. It's very nerve-wracking, and I appreciate everybody that presents because they are coming out of their comfort zone, admitting they have a challenge they don't know how to overcome. That is a huge step. That is step one. Take that step two to these three. Because I think the biggest thing we have to do, and I'll tell you probably my number two phrase that I don't like is get out of your own way. But you have to get out of your own way. You have to stop being potentially offended because there's something you may not know. Let them teach you. Because I think the problem we get is we get in our own way and we don't want to admit we don't know what we don't know. We just try to work our way through it. That first step to present here is the first step to getting out of your own way. So many people come up here and are so nervous to present, but they get such good feedback. And be prepared too, you gotta have a little bit of thick skin because the feedback you get might not be the best. It might not be positive, it might not be what you want to hear, but it's not a bad thing either. We've had some presenters here that the feedback that they got, I don't think was what they wanted to hear, but I think it saved them a lot of money. So I know with all of us, we're all here and we're all part of it because we want to see business in Lake County succeed. We want to see everybody succeed. We want to sit there and we want to talk about all the success stories. I'm going to take a little bit of a brag because I think it all starts right here because you have to have a concept. Every business started with a thought or a concept. Bring it here. Get the feedback on it. Get the business started. Start working with John from day one to make sure you know if you're making money or if you're not, how to structure your books. Start working with Mike and Brian when the time comes to work with them. But it all starts in this building. The resources are there for you. So, Brian says it, I say it every week. We almost to a point of borderline begging. We want you meeting with Brian. We want you meeting with Mike and John. We want you meeting because we just want you to be successful.
I got to plug in Cups here. I'm a local realtor, commercial and residential, and I volunteer at this Million Cups, and it's, I don't book anything at this period of time for a few hours because it's actually for my benefit as a business owner of my own self, to feed my family. And this is a phenomenal resource of 1 Million Cups, and we're so blessed in this county to have all of these resources. And one of the things I want to end with here is this whole thing is being archived on Facebook. So if you have not been on our Facebook, like it, subscribe to it, and keep this link so you can go back and say, okay, who is the one that talked about this resources? But then also be of community, meaning collaborate with your peers, especially within your own industry, but then also share this information. This is how we get it out to all the small businesses of people that don't know where these resources are. Guide them to this link today, and they can go and say, okay, you know what? These are the resources that we have, and then they can go to their associated websites and stuff for more detailed information. So that's the best thing you guys can do.
Yeah, and to that point too, Brian, you may know this, but I always say, I just kind of do a random guess. People, it's like, well, who's the presenter? What's the product? It doesn't matter. It's not the product, it's the challenges. And my guess is 80% of all businesses have the same challenges regardless of the product. You know, so it's somewhere you have common themes and common challenges regardless of what the product is. So don't think that if you know who the presenter is, that it's like, I have nothing in common. I don't know anything about that business or that product. It's not about the business. If I told you next week we were having a presenter that sold bonsai trees, you're gonna go, I don't even know what a bonsai tree is. They're like little miniature trees. What do I know about that? Their challenge when they presented was the same as it's marketing, it's exposure. How do I, it's the same challenge we all have. So, you know, I still do that purposely. I never tell who our presenter is unless it's something like this, because I don't want people not coming because you're going to miss good information. And then anybody that says anything, I'm just gonna say, anybody that you know that normally comes that didn't come today, shame on them, and tell them, shame on them, because they missed a good panel.
Well, here's the other thing. I just want to say one more thing regarding that, Jim, is that just because that presenter doesn't pertain to your industry, there might be someone sitting in here that is in your industry that comments on one of the challenges, and then you can afterwards go to that person and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, and I know you're in my industry. So it's a peer-to-peer, so you got to look at it that way too.
Alright, feel free to stick around. Any more questions, thoughts, comments?
We're all gonna be here.
If you want a copy of the paper version of the gross margin sheet, it's here. If you would like me to send you an electronic version, put your email back there and I'll get it to you.
Marie had a thought, question, comment.
I have some announcements. Sorry.
Okay. To that vein, Small Business Saturday. Shop local. I know some things you can, but shop local. This evening, the Fresh Market at Farron is on from 5 to 8. Please see the artisans